Listen up, because what I'm about to tell you might change everything you thought you knew about the WNBA's newest rivalry. You've seen the headlines about Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers being the next big thing in women's basketball, but nobody's talking about what's really happening behind closed doors. And trust me, after Sunday night's game between the Fever and Wings, the truth is starting to slip out. So hit that like button right now if you want to hear the real story that ESPN won't tell you. The basketball world just witnessed something special on Sunday night, 102-83. That was the final score when Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever absolutely demolished Paige Bueckers' Dallas Wings. But here's the thing. This wasn't just another regular season game. This was the first time these two generational talents faced off as pros. And what happened on that court revealed way more than just who's the better player. Let me paint you a picture. Gainbridge Fieldhouse was electric. You had fans who paid thousands of dollars just to witness this moment. Yeah, you heard that right. Thousands. When the Wings hosted the Fever earlier this season, they had to move the game from their usual arena to the American Airlines Center just to fit all the fans. Courtside seats were going for nearly $5,000. That's more than what some people pay for NBA Finals tickets. But here's where it gets interesting. Remember when everyone was calling this the female version of LeBron versus Steph? Well, after Sunday night, we might need to pump the brakes on that comparison. Because what we saw wasn't just two superstars going at it, it was the exposure of a carefully crafted narrative that's been building since these two were in college. Caitlin Clark finished with 14 points, 13 assists, and 5 steals. Pretty good numbers, right? But Paige Bueckers actually outscored her with 21 points. So why did the Fever win by 19? Here's what the highlight reels won't show you. Every time Clark touched the ball, she was getting grabbed, held, and basically treated like a tackling dummy. And I'm not exaggerating, even Rebecca Lobo, who was calling the game, had to point it out on national television. There was this one play where Clark is driving to the basket, and she gets grabbed around the hip, then bumped twice, and the refs only call a foul when someone literally slaps down on her arm. This has been happening all season, and everyone acts like it's normal. But when Bueckers gets breathed on wrong, whistle. Every single time. And that brings me to the bombshell that dropped after the game. When reporters asked Clark about her relationship with Bueckers, she didn't sugarcoat it. I wouldn't say we're best friends. Can you believe that? After all this hype about their epic rivalry dating back to college, Clark basically admitted they're not even close. They're just two competitors who want to win. But wait, it gets juicier. You know what's really wild? The WNBA has been treating these two completely differently from day one, and nobody wants to talk about it. Bueckers shows up to the league and immediately gets featured in commercials with established stars like Breanna Stewart. She's getting the red carpet treatment before even playing a game. Meanwhile, Clark had to fight through flagrant fouls and cheap shots her entire rookie year just to earn basic respect. You want to know why? It's the UConn factor. Bueckers comes from the holy grail of women's basketball programs. She's got WNBA royalty in her corner. Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, Maya Moore, Breanna Stewart. It's like joining a secret society. Clark? She came from Iowa. She's the outsider who dared to break all the records and steal the spotlight. Here's something that'll blow your mind. When the WNBA All-Star voting came out, Bueckers got over 800,000 fan votes as a rookie, breaking Clark's record from last year. But get this, Clark still got 1.3 million votes this year, the most in WNBA history. Yet somehow, the players voted Clark 9th among guards. 9th! The woman who's second in the league in assists and literally changed the game is ranked 9th by her own peers. If that doesn't scream jealousy, I don't know what does. Let's talk about Sunday's game for a second, because what happened in that first quarter was cinema. 2 minutes in, Clark reads Bueckers like a book, steals her pass, and converts a fast break layup. The crowd goes wild, but Bueckers comes right back with a 29-foot three-pointer in Clark's face. For about 10 minutes, it looked like we were getting the heavyweight fight everyone wanted. Then reality set in. The Fever started playing what they call Fever basketball, and let me tell you, it was beautiful. They scored 64 points in the first half. That's not a typo. 64. They broke a league record. Every single player was getting fast break buckets. Natasha Howard was running the floor like she was 20 years old again. Sophie Cunningham was hitting threes. Even Aaliyah Boston was pushing the pace. Meanwhile, Bueckers was trying to carry her team, but here's the thing about the Wings. They're terrible. Like really terrible. They're 6-22 this season. Arike Ogunbowale went 0 for 10 from the field. That's right, their second best player couldn't buy a bucket. There was one sequence where she missed 3 straight wide-open layups. It was painful to watch. But here's what really stood out to me. Clark played 25 minutes and impacted the game in every possible way. She had 5 steals, tying her career high. She had a huge block that shifted momentum. She was directing traffic, finding open teammates, completely controlling the tempo. Bueckers played well individually, but she couldn't elevate her team the same way. And this is where the media narrative starts to crumble. Everyone wants to make them equal because they were both #1 picks. But being the #1 pick doesn't automatically make you Caitlin Clark. What Clark did in her rookie year, leading the league in assists, breaking the three-point record, single-handedly turning a lottery team into a playoff contender, that's not normal. That's generational. You know what's funny? On Jeopardy last week, they showed a picture of Paige Bueckers and asked who she was. The contestant answered, "Who is Caitlin Clark?" Even game show contestants can't tell them apart. But that's the thing. The media wants them to be the same so badly because it fits their narrative. 2 marketable stars, both #1 picks, perfect rivalry, right? Wrong. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Clark is playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. She's not just a scorer, she's completely revolutionized how teams have to defend in the WNBA. Teams are picking her up full court, throwing double teams at her 30 feet from the basket. When has anyone ever seen that in women's basketball? But the establishment doesn't want to admit that Clark is different. They want Bueckers to be her equal because Bueckers fits the mold. She plays the right way. She came from the right program. She says the right things. Clark? She's out here launching shots from the logo and breaking every unwritten rule in the book. Let me share something that happened during the game that perfectly captures this whole situation. In the 3rd quarter, Clark was bringing the ball up court, and I kid you not, 3 Wings players surrounded her at half court. 3. And you know what she did? Threw a perfect pass over the top to Kelsey Mitchell for an easy layup. The Wings coach was furious, but what else can you do? You can't guard Clark like a normal player because she's not normal. Speaking of coaches, Stephanie White said something before the game that was actually pretty revealing. She compared this matchup to Magic versus Bird, to LeBron versus Steph. But here's the thing, those rivalries were between equals. This isn't that. This is more like when Jordan was dominating and the league kept trying to prop up the next guy as his rival. Remember when they tried to make Penny Hardaway versus Jordan a thing? Yeah, exactly. The numbers don't lie. Clark is averaging 18 points, 9 assists, and 5 rebounds while shooting her team into first-place conversations. Bueckers is putting up good stats on a team that might not win 15 games. But somehow we're supposed to pretend they're on the same level because they were both #1 picks? And don't even get me started on the double standard with physical play. There's a play from Sunday where Clark gets hip-checked so hard she nearly falls into the bench, and no call. But Bueckers gets a fingernail of contact and it's 2 shots. The refs have been letting teams mug Clark all season, and now suddenly when the golden child from UConn shows up, they remember what a foul is? Here's what really gets me. After the game, reporters asked Bueckers about facing Clark, and she gave this perfect PR answer about how competition brings out the best in athletes, and how it's not Paige versus Caitlin, it's Wings versus Fever. Come on. You know she's been hearing the comparisons, you know she wants to prove she's just as good. But when the lights were brightest, her team got blown out by 20. The funniest part? Clark barely even talked about Bueckers in her post-game interview. She was more focused on how her team played, how they moved the ball, how they executed their game plan. It's like she's already moved past this whole rivalry thing while everyone else is still trying to make it happen. You want to know the real difference between them? Watch how their teammates react when they make plays. When Clark throws one of her ridiculous passes, her teammates are ready for it. They expect it. When Bueckers makes a great play, her teammates look surprised. That's the difference between being a great player and being a transformative player. And let's address the elephant in the room, the All-Star game. Both of them made it, which is great. Clark's a captain, Bueckers is a starter. But here's the kicker. Clark got 1.3 million fan votes. That's almost double what any WNBA player has ever received. Bueckers got 800,000, which broke Clark's rookie record, but it's still not even close. The fans know who the real star is, but the WNBA players, they ranked Clark 9th among guards in their voting, behind players averaging half her assists, behind players on losing teams, behind players who can't even fill their own arenas. It's so obvious what's happening here. They're bitter that this outsider from Iowa came in and stole their shine. You know what the craziest part is? This is only going to get worse. Clark is 22 years old and already breaking the league. What happens when she hits her prime in 3 or 4 years? What happens when she's averaging 25 and 12? The gap between her and everyone else is only going to grow. Meanwhile, Bueckers is a very good player who's going to have a very good career. She'll make all-star teams, maybe win some individual awards, probably help turn the Wings around eventually, but she's not Clark. She's not revolutionary. She's not must-see TV. The truth is, the WNBA needed this rivalry to be real because one superstar isn't enough to maintain momentum. They need drama, they need storylines, they need multiple faces of the league, but you can't manufacture greatness. You can't force a rivalry between equals when one player is clearly operating on a different level. Sunday night proved what many of us already knew. This isn't a rivalry, it's a coronation. Clark is the undisputed face of the WNBA, and no amount of media manipulation or establishment bias is going to change that. Bueckers is a nice player, maybe even a future All-WNBA player, but she's not in Clark's stratosphere. And you know what? That's okay. Not everyone can be Magic or Bird. Not everyone can be LeBron or Jordan. Sometimes you're just very good in an era when someone else is transcendent. The sooner everyone accepts that, the sooner we can stop pretending this is something it's not. The real story here isn't about two rivals battling for supremacy. It's about one player who's so far ahead of everyone else that the league is desperately trying to create competition where none exists. It's about the basketball establishment trying to protect their preferred narrative while reality keeps slapping them in the face. So next time someone tries to tell you Clark and Bueckers are equals, remember Sunday night. Remember the 19-point blowout. Remember Clark controlling the game without even trying to score. Remember Bueckers putting up empty stats on a team going nowhere. Remember the truth that the WNBA doesn't want you to see, because at the end of the day, there's Caitlin Clark, and then there's everyone else. And no amount of hype, marketing, or media spin is going to change that. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because I'll be covering every twist and turn of this story as it develops. The WNBA might not want you to know the truth, but I'm going to keep exposing it, one game at a time.